UFC Des Moines is officially in the books, and Corey Sandhagen picks up one of the biggest victories of his career. And then all the noise surrounding the event right now is the Bo Nickal hype train being derailed by RDR. We got a lot to discuss in this video, man. So this is going to be my full card post-fight recap. And look, I really enjoyed this card, man. I thought that this was a super exciting event. We had a ton of finishes. We had a ton of exciting moments. Super excited to discuss this one. Let's hop into it right away with the main event between Corey Sandhagen and Deiveson Figueiredo. Look, I was super excited to see how this fight was going to play out, right? Corey Sandhagen, a guy that took the Umar Nurmagomedov fight and went out there and things didn't go his way, right? Umar Nurmagomedov, we've seen, is just that damn good. But overall, Sandhagen's one of the more well-rounded guys in the weight class. He's super skilled, super talented, but he just had seemed to fall short in almost these must-win fights. And he finds himself in what I thought was a must-win fight for him if he's trying to get back to a title opportunity here, because I know he fought Petr Yan for the interim title. This was a massive win for Corey, man. A massive win. And people are going to say, oh, well, it was lucky and Figueiredo's knee popped and that's why he got the stoppage. Well, yeah, because Corey Sandhagen was playing the 50-50 game, right? He put Deiveson Figueiredo in a tough position, right? Credit to Corey Sandhagen. He was playing the 50-50 game. If you know anything about jiu-jitsu, man, like he's training with Ryan Hall. He's trained with Ryan Hall, who is an absolute wizard on the ground. We saw Corey Sandhagen, I think, do this to TJ Dillashaw, right? So again, he put Figueiredo in a tough position. The knee popped. Credit to Corey Sandhagen, right? I mean, Corey, he's so well-rounded, man. He's so skilled. He's so strategic in the way that he approaches these fights. And, you know, what I said coming in was I thought Corey was going to win this fight, but I thought it was going to be a decision. I thought we were going to be in for this, you know, technical back and forth for 25 minutes, but Corey just basically, he dominated this fight, man. I mean, Deiveson Figueiredo just seemed like he had no answers for Corey whatsoever. I know Figgy was chasing some attacks on the ground, but Sandhagen's too good, man. He's too good. And like I said about Corey, even if you take him down, he will threaten with submissions right away. There is no wasted anything when it comes to Corey Sandhagen. And it just shows you, I mean, no one wanted to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. Nobody did. And Corey Sandhagen said, give me that fight, man. Give me that fight. I'll take on this scary guy who no one wants to fight. And yeah, things didn't go his way. But you've seen Corey is one of the best in this weight class, without question. I mean, Deiveson Figueiredo is a former flyweight champion, has a ton of power in his hands. And since coming up to flyweight, He's looked fantastic, right? I know he, got dominated by Petr Yan, but before that, he dropped Marlon Vera, put on a nice performance there, sub Cody Garbrandt. I mean, who does that to Garbrandt, right? I know people clown on Cody at this point in his career, but nobody takes down Cody and controls him. Nobody, let alone subs Cody Garbrandt. So I thought that was super impressive by Figgy, and then he went out there and beat up on Rob Font. This isn't some guy that was just, he's a flyweight moving up. This is an established bantamweight at this point in Figueiredo, who was really in a must-win situation himself. So this was a big, bantamweight fight here, and Sandhagen looked fantastic. I know that we didn't get to see too much, right, because we got, basically 2 rounds here, but Corey looked dialed in, he looked sharp, he looked slick, and he was banging the leg kicks from the outside. His boxing looked clean, which I was anticipating because he's been working a lot with Trevor Wittman, and Trevor Wittman, he just has this voice and this way of getting to these guys and really tightening up the hands, man. And I like what we saw from Corey. He was framing really well with that lead hand. He was moving very, very well. And the thing with Corey that I was like, look, he kind of gets in his own way. He's a technical wizard out there. He's super strategic, but sometimes that kind of, in my opinion, holds him back, right? He tries to be too strategic to where he doesn't open up enough. That was not a problem in this fight, man. Not a problem at all. He even was getting his own takedowns against Figueiredo. Corey Sandhagen, he's elite in this weight class. Now, he's in an interesting position because he goes out there and gets a stoppage victory over Deiveson. That's huge. That's, like I said, it might be the biggest win of his career, right? Considering he's coming off of the Umar loss. He lost to Petr Yan for an interim title. But again, he hasn't fought Sean O'Malley. He hasn't fought Merab Dvalishvili. That puts Corey in an interesting position because people are kind of battling back and forth like Corey shouldn't get a title shot. He should get a title shot. And, I could see it either way. I could see how you could say, well, yeah, he only won 1 fight in a row here, but he was on an absolute tear. And the only loss that he has, throughout the past few fights was to who? To Umar Nurmagomedov, who just fought for the belt. And, he broke his hand in the fight. And I mean, he took Merab tooth and nail. And I think Umar's going to be a former champion. That was Umar's only loss. No one wanted to fight Umar, man. Corey was the only guy that stepped up to the plate and said, I'll put my number one ranking on the line to fight this guy. And, when you risk it like that and then you bounce back with a performance like this, I don't think that should disqualify Corey Sandhagen from a possible title opportunity here. Considering where the division is at right now, I know Jan has put himself in position to earn a title shot, but I don't disagree with people saying that Sandhagen's name could be in the hat without question. I mean, he has been an established guy at the top of the weight class, goes out there, gets the stoppage victory over Figueiredo, and the most impressive thing to me about Corey, a lot of guys, when they get a little bit later in their career, I still think Corey has a lot of fight left in him. I'm not saying he's done or anything. I'm just saying fighters kind of just become who they are. Maybe they make some improvements. Maybe they change a little something here and there. Is it just me, or is every single time that we see Corey Sandhagen, something's better, something's improved, he's evolved somewhere, he's tightened something up? Like, this guy is constantly improving from fight to fight. I mean, to go out there and do that to Figueiredo and dominate like that, I mean, that's crazy. And to get the finish win, super impressive by Corey Sandhagen. He has something going for him, considering that, yes, he picked up a big victory here. Yes, he lost to Umar, but he hasn't fought Merab. He hasn't fought Sean O'Malley. And in my opinion, he could just slide in and fight Merab, cancel the O'Malley versus Merab rematch. No one wants to see that right now. It has no hype. I honestly would love to see Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. I know that's a fight a lot of us were calling for. Corey's put himself in a nice position. This was a huge victory, and if he doesn't get a title shot next, I see a title eliminator for sure without question, but considering it would be a fresh matchup against either Merab or O'Malley, depending on who wins, which I think it's going to be Merab probably, Sandhagen versus Merab, sign me up, man. I think that Merab, of course, is a difficult matchup for anybody, but if there's anyone that could go in there and find a strategic way to find a way to beat Merab, I feel like it could be a guy like Corey, a guy with a tricky skill set, super well-rounded, good submissions, dangerous flying knees, to where if Merab threatens to close the distance, he could try to time something. But either way, going to be very hard, to beat Merab Dvalishvili, but big win for Corey Sandhagen. Probably the biggest win of his career, considering, it's not like his back was to the wall because he was on a nice tear and he lost to Umar and whatever, but this was a big win here. Big win for Corey Sandhagen, adding a name like Figgy to his resume. Huge for Corey Sandhagen. And like I said, every single fight that we see from Corey, it seems like he's improved to me. He's improved in a specific area. He looked clean on the feet. His jiu-jitsu game, training with Ryan Hall, putting Figgy in the 50-50 position. This dude's dangerous whenever he decides to fully commit on things. That was my critique with Corey is, I thought he was going to win the fight, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be aggressive enough to find a finish. We saw he was aggressive in these scrambles. Corey was not playing around when the fight hit the floor. I think he knew that Davison was going to try to get the fight there. He had to be cautious of the Figueiredo power on the feet. Corey's just better, man. Too smooth, too all-rounded, too technical. Massive win for Corey Sandhagen. I don't hate the idea of him possibly getting another title, because he fought for the interim title against Petr Yan and lost. But him versus Jan again, I mean, I think Jan's earned a title shot. It fucks everything up because O'Malley is getting slid right back into a rematch here with Merab. But if Merab wasn't booked against O'Malley, I could very see the UFC trying to go this route, considering Sandhagen has not fought Merab yet. He has not fought O'Malley. Super exciting options ahead for Corey Sandhagen. Big victory over Davison Figueiredo, man. I was very impressed with Corey. Moving on to the co-main event, the fight that everyone's talking about, Reinier de Ridder versus Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal, man, listen. When this fight was first announced, I was like, this is a bad matchup for Bo Nickal. I was like, I think he's going to get exposed. I think that this is going to be really bad. And then I started going back and watching the film. I watched the RDR, some fights from ONE FC. I watched, the GM3 fight. And I was like, look, RDR is really talented. He's got good submissions. He's a big guy for the middleweight division, and he's going to be hard to deal with. But considering what we've seen from Bo Nickal on the feet, I didn't think it was super far behind RDR. Like, as crazy as that is to say, I figured RDR was the better striker, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like he was leaps and bounds ahead of Bo Nickal. So I'm like, okay, so if it's not going to really play out on the feet, well, theoretically, Bo Nickal's the better wrestler. He has good submissions. It's not just like he's some guy that lays on you like Colby Covington. Bo Nickal's got submissions. He's got good ground and pound. He's a powerful dude. I'm like, if he can control RDR and get to the top position and start to rain down some ground and pound, maybe he could get him out of there. Maybe he could find some sort of submission. And Bo had a very good first half of the first round. I thought his head movement looked good. Things looked good. And, he was heavier coming into this fight. And he said that he said that the size was something that he thought was going to benefit him. To me, it just gassed him out. It gassed him out. And a lot of that had to do with the game plan of RDR. The way that Reinier approached Bo Nickal, it was brilliant, man. It was absolutely brilliant because Kelvin Holland warned us. He's like, this dude's different, man. This dude's a silverback in there. He is a big physical guy in the weight class, and RDR's got a ton of experience, right? Double champ over in ONE FC, and he's undefeated since coming into the UFC. Those knees were the game changer. People are saying, Bo Nickal quit out there. He quit. You've never been hit with a hard knee to the body, man. At least, whether it was a liver shot or in the vicinity of that, those knees started to add up. I mean, the game plan of RDR, that's what needs to be talked about here. The way he approached this fight was fantastic. A dangerous, powerful guy like Bo Nickal, because whether you like Bo or not, the dude does have power. I know he's not super clean on the feet, but he's got power. We saw that against Val Woodburn. And if he could have landed a shot as RDR closed the distance, I could have seen Bo Nickal hurting Reinier, but de Ridder never gave him the chance. He got into the clinch, and every single time he would tie Bo Nickal up and get to the tie clinch, he was landing some perfect knees to the body and then started to bring them upstairs, which I think started to make Bo hesitant. It started to make Bo question some things, and this was a masterful performance by RDR. And to go out there and get a stoppage in the second round over Bo Nickal, I didn't see a TKO coming. I thought maybe he could, submit Bo Nickal in some sort of scramble. Maybe he just outpoints him and wins a decision. To stop Bo Nickal the way he did, massive win for RDR, man. And like I said before, Bo Nickal is super talented. I think he's very talented, but they're going to have to go back to the drawing board because while RDR is a big guy for the middleweight division, I'm just looking around going, who does Bo beat in the rankings? Like, I'm not trying to go from where I'm like I'm super excited to see where Bo Nickal can go in the sport, but, I don't know if he can make welterweight. I think that would probably be a big cut because it seems like he's really committed to being a middleweight. I just don't know how he beats a lot of these guys in the rankings. And I know that RDR is dangerous. Don't get me wrong. He's a very hard matchup. And he called out Sean Strickland, which I think that's a fun fight, right? I think that RDR obviously is going to get a step up in competition here. And he seems like a nightmare in the division. He's got elite submission skills, excellent jiu-jitsu, and his striking, it's not particularly great, but I mean, compared to a lot of the guys in the middle of the road, middle of the rankings in the division, I think he can hang with a lot of those guys, right? So this was a massive win for RDR, and to get a finish, a stoppage victory over Bo Nickal, absolutely huge. And this isn't the end of Bo, right? This is a learning opportunity for him. He got fraud checked here, right? This was a big step up in competition. He got checked. But make no mistake about it. I think if Bo Nickal can make some adjustments, he's got to improve with the striking. And I think that his lack of awareness in the clinch cost him this fight. And credit to RDR. They saw something going back watching these fights. They knew Bo Nickal with the lower center of gravity, probably looking to initiate the wrestling. Masterful work by RDR. Those knees to the body, they were absolutely the difference. And whenever they separated, you could see the fatigue in Bo Nickal. Yes, from probably carrying around the weight. Yes, from, being forced into these, grappling exchanges with a guy like RDR. That'll wear on you. But those knees and the investment from RDR to go to the body, brilliant tactic by RDR. Massive win for him. He gets to add this big name and Bo Nickal to his resume. Excited to see what's next for RDR. I don't hate, he called out Sean Strickland. I don't think he's going to get that fight. I think that, maybe they do Strickland versus Adesanya. I could easily see them giving RDR like, a Jared Cannonier. I could see them giving him like a, Marvin Vittori or a Roman Dolidze, someone like that. RDR deserves a nice step up in competition. He's legit, man. We already know he's an elite submission ace, right? In terms of MMA, you just saw a very good grappler in Bo Nickal go up against a complete MMA grappler. To me, that was the difference, and Bo Nickal's going to have to make some adjustments because, yeah, he's this super talented wrestler, but in the fight game, it's different. It's very different. Taking guys down in space is a lot harder. Utilizing the fence to work with the grappling, it's a different kind of game, and we saw that tonight that, I was saying, maybe Bo Nickal needs to drop to welterweight. I don't know if he can make the weight. I don't know because it seems like he's made this commitment to middleweight. But given what I saw tonight, last night, I know that RDR is really good. I'm not taking anything away from RDR. I'm just saying what I've recognized here is I just don't know how Bo does against the ranked competition in the division. I just don't know, man. And those guys are big. They're powerful. And a lot of them have good ground games. They have good ground games, so it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. I think that Bo's going to have to make some adjustments. He's going to have to evolve as an overall fighter, and you know, kind of adapt the wrestling style to more of an MMA-based grappling. Credit to RDR, man. Big win. You know, to go out there and get a TK over Bo Nickal and, you know, give him his first loss, massive. And like RDR said, he's like, I'm glad I got this guy early because, you know, Bo Nickal's probably going to put some things together. Nickal's got to go back to the drawing board. Nickal's got to go back to the drawing board, man. But I know RDR, don't really hang your hat if you're Bo. Yeah, he's, of course, maybe a little overhyped for sure. RDR is legit, man. The dude's got crazy skills with the grappling. His striking, I didn't expect to be a huge difference in this fight. Turns out, those knees were nasty, and then it opened up the boxing upstairs. Impressive victory by Reinier de Ridder. Huge win for him. Ponzinibbio versus D-Rod. I thought that this fight to me was pretty much a toss-up, right? It was like two OGs. Both guys are 38 years of age. They're kind of up and down recently, you know, throughout their past few fights. And, you know, I just figured D-Rod was going to be the cleaner boxer, right? But I thought that Ponzinibbio's power, and if he could mix things together, could trouble Daniel Rodriguez. But we saw D-Rod had an answer for the grappling. Yeah, he got taken down at times, but he controlled the fight on the feet. I know Ponzinibbio was landing some decent shots, but D-Rod was ahead with the volume, man. He was doing a very good job sticking and moving, and then eventually we've seen throughout the later career here of Ponzinibbio, if you land clean, it just has a severe effect on him. It's not like the Ponzinibbio back in the day, and we just saw D-Rod just start to pick him apart. And then when he opened him up, you know, he was going full Ooga Booga mode with D-Rod, man. He started to land. He was able to hurt Ponzinibbio badly. This was a fun fight here. Two OGs, two guys that are later in their career. Don't feed him to some up-and-coming guy, right? Put them in there against each other. The reaction times aren't the same. The output isn't quite the same. I thought that this was a solid performance by both guys, actually. I thought that, you know, Ponzinibbio had a rough first round to a degree. I thought D-Rod was doing good. The second round, Ponzinibbio started to kind of put things together. And I thought the third round was really what was going to kind of decide it. And then D-Rod, he was just able to get the boxing going. And we saw that Ponzinibbio, he just doesn't take a shot the same way. We saw that in the Harris fight, but credit to D-Rod, man. His boxing is slick, and he does get a little reckless at times, but I really was excited about this matchup. I figured that this was not going to go to decision. I thought we were going to see a finish, you know, regardless of who won. This was a fun matchup, man. This is why I like when the UFC puts kind of the old heads together, because it creates a competitive fight. Really enjoyed this one. Big win for Daniel Rodriguez. Happy to see him back in the win column. Montel Jackson, Daniel Marcos. I thought coming into this fight that Montel Jackson was just a better overall fighter. Look, I think Daniel Marcos, you know, he's undefeated. He's got some hype behind him, and he's a pretty game opponent, pretty well-rounded. I just figured that if Montel Jackson could shut down the leg kick game, I'm like, I don't know what Marcos has from Montel that Jackson hasn't seen before. That's just kind of how I saw this fight. And I didn't rule out the possibility of Montel getting a KO here, because if Marcos wasn't able to out-grapple Jackson, I figured standing in front of Montel for 15 minutes, that would open up the left hand, especially when Marcos tries to throw those kicks. If Jackson could step in and time a perfect left hand, this was a very good performance by Montel Jackson, because Marcos is no joke, man. He's well-rounded, he's aggressive, and he has all the confidence in the world, right? He's undefeated coming into this, and he mixes things up well. He's got good leg kicks. He's got solid grappling. Good performance by Montel Jackson. Now, my big thing with Jackson, let's get him back in there in a couple months. Let's not wait a year to get Montel Jackson back on the books, right? I feel like that's something that's really kind of hindered Montel throughout his career. I don't know the reasoning for that. Maybe, I don't know if it's just the way things work out or what the deal is. Let's get him back in there. Goes out there, starches Damon Blackshear, which that win is, that was a spectacular victory, because we all know how good Blackshear is. And then to go out there and derail the hype train of Marcos, who's undefeated and all these different things. Big win for Montel Jackson, man. Like I said, I think Jackson's one of the dark horses in this weight class. He's got an outstanding left hand. He's super well-rounded, and whenever he is able to fight on his terms, he's a hard guy to deal with. Big victory for Montel Jackson. And Marcos, he'll be back, man. This is his first, loss in his career. I think that he'll make a few adjustments here and there. Big victory for Montel Jackson. I figured that he was going to be the better overall fighter in this one, and I think that that's kind of what we just saw. So big win for Montel Jackson. Cameron Smotherman, Sidey. I was kind of surprised in this fight, because I figured that if Sidey mixed in the grappling, which I was like, I don't think he's going to, right? Because he has really excellent jiu-jitsu. He's got good submission skills. We just don't see a ton of it in his MMA fights. But I was like, if he doesn't mix in the grappling, I could see Cameron Smotherman knocking him out, because I thought that the better boxer was clearly Cameron Smotherman. But it was the way that Siri just kept mixing everything together. It kind of reminded me of the way that Ian Gary approached Carlos Prates. Ian Gary knew, like, look, if I just stand in front of Prates and let him just kickbox with me, I'm running the risk of getting knocked out. That is where this guy is at his best. And I think Sidey knew, look, if I'm going to stand on the feet and just try to box with Smotherman, I could find myself in some trouble. So he said, you know what? I'm just going to sting him from the outside. I'm the rangy guy. I got the speed advantage. Let me just stick and move. And every time Smotherman tried to dig his feet in and try to plant and really throw a shot whenever Sidey was, looking like he was going to try to strike, boom, he would dip underneath, he'd get to the single leg, and he would mix in the grappling. And I thought it was a brilliant game plan by Sidey. Kept Smotherman guessing, because whenever you get these young prospects that have dangerous power and are really good in a specific area like Smotherman is with the boxing, just keep them guessing. Don't play their game. Act like you're going to play their game. Sting and move with a jab, and then right when they get frustrated and dig their feet in and try to land those big shots, dip underneath, take them down, and whether you control them on the floor or not isn't exactly the point. It's just to throw them off, keep them guessing, make them a little bit hesitant. That's exactly what we saw Sidey do in this matchup. Outstanding performance, man. I know that maybe it wasn't the most glamorous. He looked very technical, very smooth, and you saw that he locked in a submission. The guy does have really good submission skills, and that was my critique. I'm like, Sidey just doesn't display the best fight IQ, right? I thought he lost to Armfield fight, and I'm like, if this guy could just mix in his grappling and get himself to positions to where he can utilize his jiu-jitsu skills, he could be a problem for some of these guys, and especially a guy like Cameron Smotherman, who just didn't open up enough. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with how Sidey was just throwing so much at him, kept him guessing. He had to worry about the takedown threat because Sidey kept mixing it up. I think Smotherman's a fun fighter. He's got to work on some things. He's got to be a little bit more aggressive, especially later in the fight when you realize you're probably down on the judges' scorecards. Got to put your foot on the gas and look for a finish. But a lot of that had to do with the way that Sidey just kept him guessing. Very smart performance by Siri Sidey. And like I said, if he utilizes his grappling, the dude's very talented, man. Jeremy Stephens, Mason Jones. Look, we all knew, at least I did. I mean, I feel like a lot of us knew this was going to be a banger. This was going to be a banger that was going to play out pretty much how it did, which was the fact that Mason Jones was going to win this fight. He was going to have the volume on his side. He's the more well-rounded fighter. He's more in his prime than Jeremy is. But Jeremy's a fun dog, man. Like, he is, he's over in BKFC knocking guys out. And he has one of, I know that they're saying that he has like the most losses in UFC history, but even in the losses, and how about the wins? This dude is always fun to watch, man. Win or lose, Jeremy Stephens is going to go out there and try to knock someone out, get knocked out, or just lose a decision. Like, that has been the name of the game for Jeremy. And when he was landing on Mason Jones, I mean, you saw the difference. I think Stephens got cut up a little bit. He had Mason Jones completely battered, man. I mean, Mason Jones looked like he's the guy that lost the fight. He took so much damage from those nasty shots from Stephens. But at the end of the day, Mason Jones is just more in tune right now, man. Like, he went out there, he lost a decision to Mike Davis, beat David Onama, lost to Ludovic Klein, and then was like, you know what, man, I don't know if I'm specifically ready for this. Let me go back to the regional scene, kind of work to get better. But I don't really think Mason improved that much. I think he looks pretty much like the same fighter. Maybe he's a little bit bigger, right? But I thought that skill-wise, he looked very similar to me and, very wisely gave us a fun 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, he went out there and just completely controlled and dominated Jeremy Stephens in the 3rd round. And it makes you wonder, if he would have tried to do that a little bit more in the 1st and 2nd, would we have gotten kind of the war that we got in the first 2 rounds? And I know that he was able to mix in some of the takedowns, but this was a super fun fight, man. I always loved the OGs of the sport like Jeremy Stephens, who just go out there. There's really no game plan other than fucking scrap, man. We're going to go out there. We're going to try to, get a knockout or whatever. Always like watching Jeremy Stephens, man. To me, he's must-see TV. I know that it's been a while since we've seen him win an MMA period, right? I know he was over in the PFL and, had a moment there. But, in terms of the UFC, it's been a while since we've seen him pick up a victory in the organization. I just figured Mason Jones is the guy that is really embedded in the MMA game right now, a guy that needed this win coming back into the UFC after he was like, okay, I need to work on some things before I make a run here. Big win for Mason Jones. Took some serious damage from Jeremy Stephens, but make no mistake about it, Mason Jones absolutely controlled this fight, showed good fight IQ in the 3rd round there. He's super well-rounded. I think he's got to tighten some things up. Big win for Mason Jones coming back into the UFC, adding a name like Jeremy to his resume. Really fun fight, though. Yana Santos, Miesha Tate. Look, I thought that Miesha Tate was going to have more success with the wrestling. I thought that she was going to, she came out like a bat out of hell, got right in the face of Yana, was backing her up against the fence, landing some good shots. And I think that Yana was a little like starstruck, right? Because she said that Miesha Tate's her favorite fighter, I think, right? So there's that moment where it was like Izzy versus Silva, to where it's like, I'm fighting someone that I really, I've been watching all my life. And, you kind of have this weird, like feeling in the beginning, but then, reality set in and Santos started to stick and move. She started to show that there was a clear speed advantage and a more technical advantage on her side when it came to the striking. Now, things got very interesting in the third round because Miesha Tate was able to take her down and she was landing some really good ground and pound to where I'm like, is Miesha Tate about to pull this off? Is she about to, get a stoppage here? And then Yana Santos, whether it was strategic or not, she kind of saved herself by basically showing Miesha Tate her back. Miesha Tate, kind of took the bait if it was a setup by Santos and then took her back to where Santos probably felt relieved because she's like, now she's out of mount. Now I'm not getting ground and pound rained down on me. And Tate was kind of, looking for the rear naked choke, but Santos was defending well. Tate wasn't able to posture up and land the ground and pound like she was earlier on in the round. But almost a crazy come from behind victory from Miesha Tate. But the point is, look, Yana Santos, she's a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner on the feet, and she did enough in the first 2 rounds to where it was going to take basically a finish in the third for Miesha to get it done. Super exciting third round for Miesha Tate, but it was clear that Yana Santos was the better striker. Miesha started fast in the fight. It looked like, oh, wow, Miesha's landing some good shots. But then Santos clearly showed that she had a victory there, was attacking the legs of Miesha Tate. And look, Miesha Tate's an OG, man. She's never going to give up on herself. She's going to keep moving forward and going to try to push the action. I'm just shocked at the lack of wrestling that we were, in terms of the success that we were able to see from Miesha Tate in those first 2 rounds. That was ultimately the difference. Solid win for Yana Santos, and I was hoping Miesha could get it done, man, because she's an OG and done a lot for the sport. So, it sucks seeing her lose, but big win for Yana Santos and a super exciting third round between the two. Ryan Loder, Azamat Bekoev. Look, man, I've been up here saying ever since the debut on short notice in the UFC, I'm like, look, Bekoev's going to destroy Zachary Reese. He's going to come out here and he's going to butcher Ryan Loder. And it's no disrespect to Reese or Loder. They're just dealing with a serious issue in the middleweight division. That is Azamat Bekoev. Maybe this is crazy to say. Give him a ranked opponent. And I know that people are going to hate that. They're going to be like, he hasn't done enough, Jake. He hasn't done enough. I've seen enough. Ryan Loder's good, man. He's very talented. He's got very good wrestling. We saw what he was able to do to Robert Valentin, which we saw what Finney did to Valentin, so I get how that could be dampened a little bit. But we saw what he did on Tough, right? So he's a game opponent, got a good wrestling background. We saw Zachary Reese, who's a pretty solid fighter as well. Bekoev dismantles both of them in the first round. 2 first-round knockouts, but the point with Azamat is, yes, he has dangerous power, and he is super scary, going out there and finishing back-to-back fights in the first round. This guy has outstanding skills, man. He has really good wrestling of his own, outstanding submissions. Like I told you, back in the day, he took on, I think it was Honeycutt, right? The guy was, wrestled at Edinburgh, a 2-time, I believe it was Division I All-American. He got destroyed by Azamat Bekoev. Bekoev, I think he submitted him, right? I think he finished him, right? I think it was by submission. And this guy will set you up. If you want to come in and wrestle, Bekoev's like, no problem. I'll just look for a submission and I'll sub your ass. And then when I get you back to the feet, I'm going to knock you out. Bekoev goes in there. He looks to finish fights. He's a do or die type of fighter to where you are going, he's going to go in there and he's going to look for a finish. And when you do that, the UFC will value that, in my opinion. This guy is a savage. He's dangerous. Super exciting contender to watch in the middleweight division because I already had him on my radar. And I'd been telling you guys, I sat up here and I'm like, this dude's a problem. He's scary. He's dangerous. He's on everyone's radar today, man. I mean, this guy's super dangerous, super well-rounded. Very excited to see how he matches up with some of the better competition in the middleweight division. No need to wait around. He's got plenty of fights under his belt. He's been a pro for a while. We saw what he's been able to do on the, over in LFA and all those types of things. This dude is dangerous. Give him a ranked opponent. I love watching Azamat Bekoev fight. Dude's super dangerous, man. Marina Rodriguez, Jillian Robertson. This fight played out to pretty much how we all kind of were expecting. Look, I didn't expect Marina to retire after this fight, but I thought Jillian was going to win, but I thought it was going to be probably by a decision, just basically controlling Rodriguez on the ground. But look, Jillian Robertson, having Dean Thomas in her corner, the way that she's preparing for these fights, it's very clear that she's really taken that next step in her career. She's got a nice win streak rolling. She called out Amanda Lemos, which I absolutely love that fight. But Jillian Robertson, out of, I think it was, 16 or 17 fights in the UFC, 15 of those she was able to get a takedown. So she is super next level when it comes to the grappling. She's got good wrestling. She has good submissions. And then she has very good ground and pound of her own. And that's just what we saw in this fight, is that Marina could not stuff the takedowns, which we all basically thought there's no way she's stopping a Jillian Robertson takedown, because we have not seen Marina deal with grapplers very well throughout her career. But if it's played out on the feet, Marina, could definitely win the fight and outscore her that way. But Jillian's striking looked good. Her striking looked good prior to getting to the takedowns, and a lot of that had to do with, obviously, the threat of the takedown, which then opens up the striking. Very good performance by Jillian Robertson. Big win. Give her an Amanda Lemos matchup. I really like that one, considering Lemos just beat Lucindo. She stopped an upcoming prospect as well. Let's test Jillian Robertson, man. She seems like she's really kind of coming into her own here. She's taken that next step in her career. Love that matchup. And, Marina Rodriguez retiring. Happy retirement to her. Sounds like she's going to be cornering some other fighters, so she'll still be around. She was always fun to watch. That Muay Thai style on the feet, pretty style of striking. Just a bad matchup against Jillian Robertson, who's really starting to find her stride, that has a very good grappling skill set. So big win for Jillian Robertson, man. Very smart game plan. Gaston Bolanos Quang Le. This was interesting to me because I thought that Gaston Bolanos was going to be able to outscore Quang on the feet, but the problem, I kind of underestimated the grappling of Quang, man. I mean, he is spectacular on the ground, and I went back and watched some of these fights after I made my prediction, going back and really seeing, like, am I missing something here? And then I'm like, man, if Quang really is able to get this fight to the floor, it's going to be a problem for Bolanos, because we know Bolanos is fun on the feet. He's got some good leg kicks. Complete domination by Quang Le, man. His grappling looked outstanding on the feet. He landed some shots when he had to, but when he got the fight to the floor, he had a significant advantage here. And in the first round, it looked a little like it was going to be kind of a, just control Bolanos and win a decision. He came out aggressive in the second round, took him down, put him on his back, and then was able to advance positions and find a submission. Very impressive performance for Quang Le. And he lost 2 in his UFC career there. So this was a much needed win for him. Big victory for Quang Le. And to me, I was kind of surprised by this. I thought that Bolanos' takedown defense was going to be better. I thought he was going to be able to outscore him on the feet. Very impressive win by Quang Le. Happy to see him get it done, man, because that was an impressive submission there over Bolanos. Thomas Peterson versus Don'Tale Mayes. Look, this was how I think a lot of us saw this fight going. Look, Don'Tale Mayes, he can't stop a takedown to save if his life depended on it. I mean, this guy's wrestling is awful. I know Thomas Peterson has a solid wrestling background, but I mean, Don'Tale Mayes can't stuff a takedown to save his life. Like, it's really bad how bad his wrestling is. I don't know how he's been in the UFC this long, and it seems like there has been zero improvement in terms of his takedown defense, and just got put on his butt. Peterson landed some decent shots on the feet, but he just easily took down Mayes at will, was able to put him on his back, was looking for the arm triangle multiple times, wasn't able to get it, landed some good ground and pound, just controlled him, basically for 15 minutes straight. Very impressive win for Thomas Peterson. While it wasn't the most exciting, to go out there and control somebody for 15 minutes, land good ground and pound coming off of that, nasty KO loss to Shamil Gaziev. Good bounce back by Thomas Peterson. And it's not every day, while it wasn't the most exciting, it's not every day that you see a heavyweight come in with a tactical game plan that's able to land good ground and pound, look for, submissions, and mix it all together while not gassing yourself out. Because I was worried after the first round. I'm like, oh no, man, both of these dudes are going to be gassed. We're going to be in for like a Kimbo Slice Dada 5000 situation. None of that happened. Complete domination by Thomas Peterson. Dude's well-rounded. I figured on the feet he could even possibly KO Mayes because I thought he had the cleaner boxing to a degree. But I figured the wrestling was going to be the easiest path to victory. Easy win for Thomas Peterson. Last but not least, Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic. Cut Ivana Petrovic immediately. Cut her immediately. She's not UFC caliber. I mean, that was some of the worst fight IQ I've ever seen in a fight in my life. It was embarrassing to me. I mean, Ivana Petrovic should have won this fight. Juliana Miller, nothing special. We all knew what she was going to do. She had no chance on the feet pretty much. Her striking super labored, super slow. Ivana was way cleaner on the feet, way faster. She wasn't lowering her base, throwing front kicks up the middle lazily, so then that way Miller was able to take her down. It just looked like Ivana had no idea that Miller was going to grapple in this fight. Everyone else knew except for Ivana. It was very, very strange. Horrible game planning, horrible fight IQ on display by Ivana Petrovic. She deserved to lose this fight. She should have won this fight. This was a super winnable fight for Ivana Petrovic. All she had to do was dig her feet in, box from the outside, and she could have coasted to a victory here. But credit to Juliana Miller for dragging Petrovic into this kind of dogfight, into these scrambles, and was able to control her on the ground and win minutes. Good win for Juliana Miller, but to me, this was more of a story about Ivana Petrovic's fight IQ. It is absolutely atrocious. She should have won this fight. Huge fumble here by Ivana Petrovic. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, and then when she was trying to reinitiate the grappling instead of disengaging, getting back to range to let the combinations go, I just don't get it. I thought that this was a complete fumble by Petrovic, but again, credit to Juliana Miller for doing what she had to do to win, go in there, and we all knew that she was going to come in and look to grapple in this fight, other than Ivana, apparently. So very good game plan by Juliana. Throw the strikes, back her up against the fence, get to the grappling, take her down, look to control her. Good win for Juliana Miller. I've seen enough from Petrovic in the UFC. When you have an opportunity like this against not a dangerous opponent whatsoever in Juliana Miller, and you go out there and fumble like that and display horrendous fight IQ, that's enough for me. It's like the Mitch Raposo situation. Enough for me. I don't need to see Petrovic back in the UFC. I'm being harsh here, man, but I couldn't believe it. The decision-making was atrocious. It was awful. She cost herself the fight. But again, credit to Juliana Miller. She was able to get it done. But at the end of the day, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.